What's going on, guys? Play Gamer here, back with another Epic 7 video, and today we got the slime collab reveal. So let's take a quick look. We got Rimuru that's going to be dropping soon, as well as Milim, and last but not least, Shuna. So I think all three units are going to be really good with this collaboration, and I can't wait to pick them up, especially because we are going to be having a free unit with this. The free unit will be Shuna. We will be having to pull for Milim and Rimuru, but let's take a quick look to see what types of skills and stats they have. So Rimuru is going to be an Earth Warrior, and his stats look pretty decent. So if we take a quick look here, we'll see his stats. So let me just go back a little bit. So we got speed 109, so not insane speed. He is an Earth Warrior, Libra, and health, pretty decent health. Attack I think on like the higher end of the attack. Only 15 crit. His imprint is attack, but the way that he works seems really broken. Okay, so let's go back a little bit here. So let's see if we can try to figure out how people are going to play him, because okay, so here we go. After attacking with a non-basic skill, copies 2 buffs when the target is buffed, regardless of whether the attack hits, and grants their effects to all allies. This effect does not apply to undispellable buffs. When an ally is attacked by a buffed enemy, activates Be Ready against the caster. Can only be activated once every 3 turns. Be Ready quickly approaches the enemy and attacks, increasing combat readiness by 30%. So he copies buffs. That's kind of nuts, right? It's kind of nuts. It's especially when you're fighting against units that have like DN, you're granting barrier to everybody, you're proccing all of those buffs. I'm even thinking like on Violet, right? When he procs Moonlight Dreamblade, you get to copy the attack buff, or even like Gab or something. I think that copying a buff and putting it's gonna be kind of nuts, right? It's gonna be kind of nuts. That's just what I think. But again, I think this is just on him, right? So he copies the buffs to himself, not to the entire team. That's what I'm thinking. His S3 here, Devour It Black Flame, attacks the enemy with Black Flame, and a successful attack will inflict 5,000 additional fixed damage to the target. Fixed damage increases proportional to the number of buffs granted to all allies. So you're going to want to play him on a buff heavy team, up to a maximum of 10k fixed damage. That's kind of nuts. That's kind of nuts. When the target is buffed, decreases defense of all enemies for 2 turns, unaffected by elemental disadvantage. So he has an S3 that if there are buffs on the enemy side, he's going to decrease defense. An AoE decrease defense. So this kind of reminds me of Rant, right? He has an AoE S3 that strips, decreases defense. Here though, the more buffs that you have, the more damage that he does, right? And it's unaffected by elemental disadvantage, meaning that you don't necessarily need a lot of effectiveness, right? And you can go S3 on anyone, right? Even though he is a grass unit, you can kind of go on anyone. And that additional damage, that fixed damage, I think it's kind of nice because it's up to 10k, right? We don't know exactly how many buffs, right? We don't know exactly how many buffs, but I think it could be pretty insane if he does a decent amount of damage. But it looks like, hold on, let's go back real quick. Is it an S? Because it's an AoE defense break, right? AoE, when the target is decreased defense of all enemies for 2 turns. So is it an S1, S3 that inflicts defense break on everyone? I think that's the way it works, right? Because on that skill, it just attacked one unit. So I guess we'll see, right? S1 cuts the enemy to attack, granting a random buff to the caster for 1 turn. This one is kind of nice. So I think that like building him on counter is going to be very viable because he's getting random buffs, which give him immunity, crit hit resistance, increase attack, and increase effect resistance. So you're wanting for him to have buffs so that he can go with his S3, deal more damage, right? So the more buffs that you have on your team, the more damage that he will deal, which is, I guess, kind of a bad time for you if they bring Landy, right? But at the same time, there's still Milim that we need to talk about. So he has anti-magic mask. It's a limited artifact. At the start of the turn, if you max this out, has a 100% chance to grant a random buff to the caster for 2 turns. So even more buffs. I still think that it's going to be a bad time if you go up against a Landy, but it just really depends, right? It really depends. So I think Rimuru is going to be kind of insane if you bring him with the right team comp. His S3 looks pretty cool too. I hate that it blocks out most of the animation, the S3, but his sitting down lobby one, of course he's eating, but we'll be able to get him as soon as the update hits on October 28th. We'll be able to pull him, and I think you should at least get 1 copy of him, just because he is limited. Of course, he has a self-imprint attack, which can potentially give him more fixed damage, right? Or is it just like base? It's probably just base, right? Because it's just 10k, like between 5 to 10k. So it's probably in between those because it's just based on the buffs. But we'll see how difficult he is to build because yeah, I think he's gonna require quite a bit of stats in order to get him to deal insane damage, get him bulky, tanky, and be able to do work with him. But let's check out the next unit here. We do have Milim, which is actually really, really nice. I was thinking we were going to get Milim. I didn't think we were going to get Rimuru because he's kind of broken in the anime. If you've ever seen it, he's kind of broken in the anime. He just like one-shots everything. So it's kind of interesting how they worked some of his skill kit or what he does into the game. Milim as well, she's kind of interesting. She is a fire mage here. And, I at first glance, she didn't seem that great, but as we were reading her skills, it's kind of OP, right? All of the units that they're dropping here, for sure, are a must get at least 1 copy. I'm not saying triple S every single unit, but you should try to at least go for one of these, get a copy of each. Milim here, she has a pretty decent attack, 1.3k attack, 4.8k health. Defense pretty decent, so you could definitely build her somewhat tanky even though she is a mage. 23 crit chance, which is kind of interesting. Imprint concentration is attack, so if you get some imprints for her release here is dual attack chance, which is kind of interesting. Dual attack, and being a fire mage right away, I'm thinking, okay, can she do anything against Violet, right? Because right now Violet is everywhere and he's kind of insane to deal with. So her skill 2, Dragon Eye, Milim Eye, at the start of the battle and at the end of the turn has a 70% chance to grant Dragon Eye to the caster for 1 turn. When the caster is granted Dragon Eye at the start of the turn, dispels stealth from all enemies. So she removes stealth, ignores effect resistance, and then when her focus is full after attacking, consumes all focus to activate Dragon Buster. Dragon Buster attacks all enemies with overwhelming mana, removing 10 souls. Dragon Eye increases her crit chance and evasion by 20%, and it can't be dispelled. So the 70% chance goes up to 100% chance, 70, 80, 90, 100%. So she will get Dragon Eye for 1 turn when she starts the battle, which is going to give her that increased hit chance and evasion. So right away, you're going to have the 20% chance of, I guess, getting away from the ML Dreamblade to hit the Violet, right? To hit the Violet, and then she has evasion. So you have a chance, you already have a 50-50 shot of not getting hit by Violet because she is a fire unit. And then you have a 20% evasion chance, which is kind of interesting, right? Which is kind of interesting. So right away, I'm thinking like, I don't know, some kind of Violet counter, right? That's what she seems like right away. But I guess we'll have to see, because it would be really interesting to build her on counter. And then she does ignore effect resistance, which is kind of, anytime units ignore effect res, it can be kind of broken, right? It can be kind of broken. You're only stripping stealth, which, you know, not a lot of units are coming in with a bunch of stealth. Like, the only thing that I'm thinking of right away is guiding light, right? So you get her to go first. She strips stealth, guiding light. She strips that off. Even if she doesn't deal insane damage, she's gonna strip guiding light, which is, I guess, what you really want her for. And then going up against a Landy, grass unit, right? Dragon Fear, her skill 3 releases mana to attack the enemy, inflicting extinction when the enemy is defeated, increases evasion of the caster for 3 turns. When the enemy is not an elite boss monster, damage sharing effects are ignored. So ignoring damage sharing effects. We haven't had one of those units in a while. And yeah, so it's, she has the potential to deal insane amounts of damage. So if you don't have like a Tomika that inflicts extinction, depending on what her attack and skills are, like as far as multipliers, yeah, I think she's going to be a really great unit to flex in. Of course, she still has that elemental disadvantage against water units, so you probably won't be able to bring her into like an SSB or Rem, but at the same time, everyone else is fair game, right? Skill 1 Dragon Dive attacks the enemy, recovering health proportional to damage dealt before increasing attack of the caster for 1 turn. So again, if you build her on counter, she's recovering health and giving herself attack buff, right? So that's something to kind of keep in mind. So if you build her on the slower end, she counters, gives herself attack buff, and then you go with the S3, potentially nuke out somebody, or even S2, which gives her the, which I believe she would already have the Dragon's Eye, right? Or do you have to S2? I don't know, I guess we got to find out. Upgraded Dragon Knuckles, her artifact. It's when the caster suffers a non-critical hit, has a 30% chance to counter. So this one, the way that I see it is Elbrus for mages, right? But it's only going to work if you don't get crit. So if you bring her with units that give the crit hit resistance right away, DN, Shu, right? They don't crit you, and then she counters, right? It's a 15% chance to counter with just one. Of course, this ideally you would max out, but then again, you know, it is a limited artifact. So if you can get one, try to get at least just one. Even though the 30% is going to be insane, I think if you get multiples, it's really worth it to keep them separate, just because Elbrus is kind of insane and all you need is just one copy. Her sitting down animation is great as well, but her artifact does seem kind of insane, but just keep in mind it's only going to work if she doesn't get crit. So it's something to really think about and consider. But you know, Rimuru and Milim are dropping, which is it's going to be a fun time. It's going to be a bad time for our bookmarks. And she is dropping, though. We're getting some time, some spread out time. So we're getting Rimuru first, and then we're getting Milim on November 4th, which gives us some time to re-up on the bookmarks if we need to refresh shop or whatever it is that we need to do, or to open up the wallets, right? But the good thing is that we are getting Shuna. She is a Fire Soul Weaver, and we're getting her for free. So she is going to be the free unit for this collab, which I think is great. She seems kind of cool and interesting. She's kind of like a control Soul Weaver-ish. I mean, so you'll see what I mean. So here are her stats: 103 base speed, so Not the fastest, but also not the slowest. She could have definitely been slower, but she is a free unit. So decent health, decent defense. So of course, on the Soul Weaver end of the spectrum. So she is a Soul Weaver, a Gemini. Her skill 2 dispels 2 debuffs from all allies. So she cleanses and then she heals everybody to be equal. So I don't know exactly what this means, but what's it basing the equal out of, right? Is it basing it off of her health? Is it basing it off of the unit with the highest health to be equal to that one? That I'm not too sure. But she also gives barrier for 3 turns, which is kind of nuts. 5 turn cooldown, get this down to 4 turns. So of course you're gonna want her faster so she can cycle. And you're gonna wanna build her tanky because it scales off of her own health. So we'll see, how that works and getting her health up really, really high. But, at least she cleanses, which I think is nice. We always need more cleansers, especially since she's free. Maybe a lot of people weren't able to pick up, the units from the ReZero collab. Shuna is going to be free cleanser here. Attacks the enemy with her S1, manipulating magicals and recovers health of the caster. Here, just, she's healing on the S1, which is nice. It's not anything groundbreaking, but her S3 here, Sleeping Spell. She she strips 2 buffs, and then she has a 50% chance to put them to sleep for 2 turns. So it's a 50% chance at base, 60, 70, 85% chance when you fully max this out. So she strips and then sleeps everybody. I think that can be kind of strong, but at the same time, she is a Soul Weaver, so you will have to build her with some effect res, but then at the same time, you need to build her with effectiveness, which I don't like. I think that the stat threshold for building effectiveness and effect resistance is pretty high, because then you need to build her fast, you need to build her tanky with a lot of HP and defense, and it makes building her very, very difficult. So I think, that little bonus at the end, the stripping, you really want to be able to strip, but is it going to be very useful if you don't have a lot of effectiveness? I don't know, maybe we'll see. Her Flawless Garments, this is her Soul Weaver exclusive artifact. It increases effect res by 20% at max. I'm assuming they're going to give us this for free as well. So we'll probably get like the max imprints of this. And, I think her artifact is kind of decent, but, for a free unit, she's pretty good. As I mentioned, we're getting those 3 units for the collab. And, I think they're pretty good. I think they're all pretty good, especially for free units. We're going to be able to get her from the check-in event and the side story reward. So as I mentioned, we'll probably be able to limit break the artifact at least. And then we'll also probably get a full triple S copy of Shuna like we did with Rem and Ram. We got Ram for free, I believe. And we were able to triple S her copy and triple S the unit as well. But yeah, it's quite a bit to kind of take in. Last but not least, we got our new ML. Let's take a look at who it is. So this one, I think everybody was wrong, right? Spirit Eye Celine. I was thinking it was Lilius. At the same time, the new MC that they teased at, Spirit Eye Celine, a light thief unit, is and she looks actually really, really good. For a Celine, she looks almost completely different. The only thing that I guess makes her look like the original is the hair, kind of, right? I don't know. She looks really different in my opinion, but I think that she actually looks really, really good for an ML. I really like the art style that they're kind of going with. She's still kind of like in that samurai swordsman type of unit, and so they gave her something a little bit different in this one. So she is a light thief, 122 base speed, kind of nuts. Not Ran base speed, not 129, but still pretty fast. Has some decent attack. She has 27 crit built in, which is nice. Her imprint concentration is crit chance. And let's take a look at her skills. So her S2 Sixth Sense, damage suffered in one attack does not exceed 70% of max health, so she can get one-shotted right away. She decreases skill cooldown by 1 turn when somebody dies and acquires 5 souls. Effects upon death are only activated once per turn upon a hero. Here we have her skill 3, Spirit Gate Burning Possession. Opens the gate of the spirits, dispelling all debuffs from the caster and making the caster possessed for 3 turns. So revives all dead allies before granting immortality to all allies for 1 turn. 6 turn cooldown, you get this to the 5 with the skill enhance. Her possession counterattacks when suffering a critical hit. When attacking, absorbs some of the damage dealt as health. Possession cannot be dispelled. This one, if it sounds broken, I think it might be. So when all of her units are dead, so here in this example, she's going to cleanse herself, revive everybody with immortality. So they all will get at least 1 turn before doing anything, right? She has that passive or that built-in that's going to let her counterattack. And so this, it's kind of nuts because if you're playing support, right? I'm not too sure how people are going to build her yet, but if you have supports on your team, maybe you start recovering after bringing back your units. Maybe you don't have Make Chloe, you're not giving everybody attack buff, but you are reviving everybody, which I think is much needed, especially if you don't have a lot of revivers, which is kind of nuts. Her skill 1 attacks the enemy with a sheath. When this skill is used, if it was not triggered by a dual attack, has a 35% chance to use Nimble Sword instead of Mighty Strike. When the caster is possessed, effect chance is doubled. So this is a pretty decent chance. So 35 chance at base. It's a 70% chance when she has that possession thing. The skill does not trigger a dual attack. So Nimble Sword dispels 1 debuff from the caster before swiftly attacking the enemy, penetrates the target's defense by 35%. So Death Pen with Nimble Sword. If you soul burn this, it gives her an extra turn. I don't know about the soul burn. She does seem like, I don't know. I think that she's going to be more utility than damage because her kit does seem really loaded, right? So I don't know if she's really going to do that much damage. She does have a strip, which is nice. But as you can see here, I don't know, like you're supposed to recover from this. She is getting an extra attack if you're able to soul burn and then potentially follow up again with the S1. But at the same time, everybody just goes down here. And then she goes again with the S3. So just constantly reviving your team, giving them immortality. She's cleansing herself and then just kind of recovering, right? And just never moving past that. But I think she can definitely be really annoying with that revive. Soul burn, it's 20 souls, so it's not like it's going to be very, very cheap to use, which again, you're going to have to make her pretty fast in order to cycle through, be able to get those souls, bring her with units that are able to gain a lot of souls when they are going and taking turns. But that's going to be it for these units. I know that we got a lot of units, definitely going to be pulling for all of the limiteds for sure. But I think that, collab is hype. Collab is hype. Really excited for Milim and Rimuru. I mean, all 3 I think are going to be really good in the game. It's always nice when they give us a decent free unit. We'll see how well she fares in the current meta and just in PvE in general. But Milim and Rimuru, they sound broken. Let me know in the comment section below. Like always, if you haven't enjoyed the video, hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed, hey, think about subscribing. It really helps the channel grow and reach more people like you who like content like this. Like always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.